Hello and welcome back to Help Me Get a Job. We've covered a lot of material up to this point. Building our brand, our LinkedIn, our resume, we've reached out to recruiters and managers, and even secured a few interviews. Now, we're waiting to hear back on the results. Unfortunately, the truth is that you will not pass every interview, and you will not get every job every time you interview. This isn't because you aren't awesome. It's because you are. It's that interviews are learning opportunities. So you've received the dreaded email or call that says, "Thanks for interviewing, but you didn't get the job." Well, crap. Maybe I could have said something different. I should have said this instead of that. Wow, I could have done so much better. The truth is, you need to stop beating yourself up. We are blessed to be in the land of opportunity. There are many, many, many other opportunities out there. What should my first step be to recover? Don't dwell on it. Again, you won't get every job that you interview for, so it's important to expect failure once in a while. It takes the typical person at least 3 to 4 interviews to figure out how to interview and what to expect. The most important thing is that there will be more. If this was the only job on the planet, yes, there would be more cause for alarm. But fortunately, companies are hiring all the time. There will be many, many more opportunities for you to nail the interview. You just need to keep your head up and keep trying. Come on, you're awesome. It's easy to come down on yourself after receiving rejection. Was it me? What did I say wrong? Realistically, you may have had the perfect interview, but you just simply didn't fit the idea the manager had for the employee they needed. Hardly anyone gets the job on the first interview. If you could get the first job on the first interview, the manager was probably your relative. Interviews take time, but above all, they take practice. It's important to line up as many interviews as possible. Feedback is your tool to passing the next interview. Feedback gives you the tools to improve so at the next interview, you'll hit it out of the park. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback. I typically make it a habit to ask for feedback after knowing that I didn't get the job. I'm always trying to improve myself, but feedback is the best because it is how others view you. It is near impossible to know how others view you through your own perspective. This is why asking for feedback is so crucial. After receiving the rejection email, I always respond back, thanking the interviewer for their time and asking for feedback. When receiving feedback back, don't argue with the feedback. Arguing will not change anything as the decision has already been made. Arguing with the feedback could potentially get you flagged in the system, and in the future, when another position opens up, you will not be called. It's always difficult to hear criticism about yourself. Nobody likes it. And when they say they do, it's not that they enjoy the feedback, but are focusing on not making the same mistakes again. Even if you ask for feedback, you may not receive it. It's understandable that you've put in a lot of time and effort to interview, and you're asking for an additional 5 minutes of their time. However, realistically, they don't owe you anything. Receiving feedback is great. These are the answers to the questions of, why didn't I get the job? Was it me? Was it them? The feedback hopefully will give you a glimpse into how they perceived you as an interviewer. The most important thing is to use this feedback to prepare for your next interview. If they felt that you didn't have the experience they were looking for, Then practice on elaborating on your previous experience. If they felt that you were underqualified for the role, practice what additional personal skills you can bring to the company. If they felt that you were overqualified for the role, practice focusing on the previous duties rather than the achievements. Long story short, that practice that you do the night before your interview, now you can use the feedback to fine-tune practicing your answers. The biggest mistake that candidates make is that they don't learn from their mistakes. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you are bound to make the same mistakes again, and you will be stuck in the interviewing loop. You don't want that. You're too good for that. Use the feedback to prepare for your next interview. Each interview should be tuned from your previous interview. Every interview should help you get that much closer to passing the next interview. Don't give up. Never give up. You've worked way too hard to give up at the first sign of failure. Failure does not mean that you give up. Failure is an opportunity to do even better the next time. Don't take time off. Don't take a rest. Send out even more messages and apply to even more jobs. It's a numbers game. The more you try, the closer you get. And the more times you try, I can almost promise you it will work. Failed interviews, as long as you really make an attempt to learn from your mistakes, will make you so much more prepared for the next time. Do athletes go to practice before the big game? Of course. Why? Because they practice their skills over and over and over, so when it happens in the game, they don't even have to think about it. Remember, practice, practice, practice. Know what to expect. Remember, the previous two presentations about practicing the night before your interview? Remember when we were talking about confidence and I asked you if you had all the answers to the questions they're going to ask you, wouldn't you feel more confident? Well, now you do. Typically, feedback isn't super thorough, but you know what to practice. Practice your new technique using the feedback and the new job description the night before your next interview. I like to start thinking about how to incorporate the feedback into my next interview way before the next interview. Always be thinking about it. Always be practicing in your mind. Practice putting your thoughts into answers. You've had your first experience with doing it. Now it's time to fine-tune it. Now you know what they will ask, so you can prepare it even better. Always aim to improve every part of your technique. Lastly, practice giving the answers to the questions that you were asked in the last interview. Do you remember what they asked? Use this to your advantage. Yes, interviews change and are different, but for the most part, most of the information is the same. This is why practice will make perfect, and the more practice, the better you will do on your next interview. We can do this. You can do this. You are awesome. You are an unstoppable machine of talent and excellence, and you won't let the obstacle stand in your way. We've learned a lot, so let's recap. Don't dwell over it. There will always be things that you could have done better, so let's focus on learning from our mistakes. Make it a habit to thank them for their time and request feedback. Don't argue with the feedback, the decision has already been made. Use the feedback to improve on your next interview. And finally, practice with the feedback. Practice makes perfect. Interviewing is grueling. It is physically and mentally draining. Remember to keep yourself positive. You can and you will do this. You will get this job. Maybe not this time or the next time, but maybe by the following time. Just remember to keep improving. By now, I'd hope that you've subscribed to my channel. If not, click on the shirt and the tie icon to do it for you. If you think this information helps and think that you will get the job the next time, give me a like. In my next video, we will cover offer negotiations because we need to, since you will be getting an offer soon. Good luck, and I can't wait to work with us again.